Back with us now, Fox News contributors Liz Peek and Byron York. Liz, your take on this. It's good to see you both. Liz, we've got dozens of companies doing layoffs. This is a red flag recession signal, but the president is now about to do his new midterm push this week on jobs. Washington Post already says he's making things up on job creation. What's your reaction to the story?
Well, I think we are going to see a real change in the jobs market, Liz. I've written about this and talked about it for a couple of weeks. There are a lot of indicators, including a PricewaterhouseCoopers survey that's out recently showing over half the CEOs are considering layoffs. Half the companies in America have already paused or frozen hiring. I think that it's inevitable. And I think it's a real problem for Democrats. Joe Biden's biggest accomplishment, really his only economic accomplishment, is that we've had a very, very tight jobs market. And I think what the last month's jobs number showed us, a very big number, by the way, is that companies are still worried about that shortage of workers. But that's going to ease. And if people begin to see that, they can rehire if they lay off people and so forth, I think you're going to start seeing those job addition numbers really come down.
Interesting. So, Byron, what's your take on this? Because, Dr. Fauci is now announced that he will step down in December. And we know he led the way on pandemic shutdowns, right? And that just destroyed 22 million jobs. But now you got Democrats in the White House. They're going also on a nationwide tour selling expensive green energies, claiming that will cut inflation. We're talking green energy pork for Democrat donors. What do you think of this?
Well, the bill, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, is filled with green energy pork for a lot of companies who hired lobbyists to try to insert language in the bill that would be favorable to them. That's the way Washington works, whether it's a green energy bill or a tax cut bill or any other sort of bill. But, politically, the 1-2 dreaded punch for Democrats was inflation and a recession. And what we've seen in the past few weeks is growing optimism among a number of Democrats who believe that their prospects for the November midterms are actually improving. The problem is this new forecast simply does not look good for them, and Joe Biden's job approval ratings remain very, very low. They're the single most important predictor of a party's performance in midterm elections.
Yeah, and to Byron's point, Liz, he's underwater in the new NBC poll. 55% disapprove of him. It's something like, only 42% job approval. And every president, the only president, by the way, since 1934 who gained House seats, the first-term president, was George W. Bush, and that was right after 9/11. So, there's a long track record of failure on green energy spending. Liz, your reaction to that?
Yeah, look, I think the president's approval ratings are catastrophically low. The media is trying to make much of the fact that he passed one bill, which, by the way, is just a complete phony bill, this Inflation Reduction Act. Only 13% of the country in the most recent poll thinks it will reduce inflation. It's kind of hard to go out and campaign on what's basically a lie. And by the way, all these hundreds of billions of dollars going into green energy, it's sort of comical because most of the country, the top 11 issues of Americans don't include climate change. So maybe it's a good thing, but American voters are sitting there saying, this isn't our biggest issue. We want help with inflation. Right. We want to make sure the economy is going well. Housing is economic, right, et cetera. So I think Democrats are kind of whistling in the dark here or whatever, that these minor upticks, minor accomplishments are going to help Biden. We've seen no real change.
Let's watch this. Watch.
Monitoring inflation is obviously the purview of the Federal Reserve. Our economists have conveyed that they feel that the impact of our proposals will be transitory.
Transitory.
Today we learned that last month our economy had 0% inflation.
Today we received news that our economy had 0% inflation in the month of July. 0%.
We saw a zero inflation print for the month of July.
If you are low income, you can get your home entirely weatherized to reduce people's energy costs on a monthly basis. You can get 30% off the price of solar panels. This is all about reducing costs for people.
Okay, by the way, inflation was not at zero. It was after they reduced the drop, after you netted out the drop in gas prices. Inflation is still at a 40-year high. If inflation, Byron, if inflation is transitory, if inflation is zero, then why do we need climate change spending to cut inflation? Maybe that's argumentative, but you know what I mean? It's a shifting narrative.
Well, yeah, I'm afraid they have actually zero credibility on inflation here, and that the people are simply not going to believe anything the president says. Now, we've seen gas prices going down in the last several weeks, and that's a good thing. But remember, when they went up, he called it Putin's price hike.
Right.
He did not call it Putin's price cut when they went down, and it appears they might go up yet again. And I think we're in for several ups and downs before the midterms, but the basic trends, presidential job approval, pessimism about the direction of the country, those things are not changing, and they're very unlikely to change before November.
And to Byron's point, the Washington Post did a survey, Liz, of 6 Democrat candidates for the Senate, House, and the gubernatorial races, all actively say they don't want President Biden to campaign with them. And now Democrat Mark Kelly joins them. You're going to see this, you're going to see that. You're also going to see reporters trying to chase down the president. He hasn't had a press conference since June, and that was in Madrid. He's not talking to reporters. Let's watch this.
President, will you come talk to us?
Americans are angry, they're disappointed, and they are worried about the future of this country. Just 21% of adults say we are headed in the right direction, and once again, 3 out of 4 Americans say we are on the wrong track.
Would you want President Biden to come to Arizona and campaign with you?
Hey, I'll welcome anybody to come to Arizona, travel around the state at any time, as long as I'm here.
Well, it's not exactly an open invitation to President Biden to come and campaign with you, even though he won the state of Arizona in 2020.
Final word. What do you think, Liz?
I think they're running away from Biden as fast as they can. Look, 64% of Democrats say they don't want him to run again. That's a pretty sour indication of his popularity. And I don't blame them. I mean, he's negative, underwater on every single issue. This is really, really bad for Democrats running, and I think it's going to help the GOP.
Byron York, I'll give you the final word. Go ahead.
Well, I think the Democrats just do not have much hope as far as the House is concerned, because it is very dependent on job approval. The Senate depends a lot more on candidate quality. Republicans have trouble on that issue in Georgia, Pennsylvania. It's entirely impossible to predict the Senate results right now.
That was terrific analysis. Liz Peek and Byron York, Fox News contributors, thank you so much.